What's going on, guys? I'm Greg here at the Blue Garage. This time I actually have a garage that I'll be working in. I got Big Blue. I got two mods that I'll be installing, kind of all in one, inclusive on this. They work together, so I'm pretty excited about this project. Got a couple of things that we're going to do. I'll take you through, so follow me. First, we're going to have to clean her up and get her all washed up. But my friends here at 404parts.com have hooked me up. I'm gonna install the GM Upfitter switches. This is OEM GM product. Pop off the knee guard on the dash and pop the new one back on. It has a series of 5 switches here that will help me control any auxiliary buttons that I'd like. So lights and
Ejectocito, cuz! It worked! I love this button!
so on. And then my friends at Upfitter have helped me out with getting a 20-inch LED bar that I will be installing as well. So they just came out with these at Upfitter. I'm looking forward to throwing them on and seeing how it looks. I'll show you where I'm going to put it. Follow me. Don't mind how dirty it is, but for now, you're not going to be able to see this unless this light bar is on. This is actually going to go in between the shutters in the grill and the grill itself. So if I have to, I may need to shave down some of those shutters to make it fit, but we're going to do our best to make it fit, keep the OEM stock look, but also increase our lighting on trails and roads and so on. So it should be a fun project, guys. Let's get started. We're going to be installing the Upfitter switches first. Pretty straightforward. It's going to be a little difficult to get to, but I'll go step by step through the whole process. It's just going to sit here and replace this bottom knee board right here on our dash. So whenever it's all said and done, I'll have those 5 switches or 5 buttons there, and I'll be able to connect them to whatever I'd like. We got our power cable here that we'll be using, and the fuse box, and a few of the terminals that we're going to be putting into the battery. So we'll start with that first. First thing we got to do is come around this way and take off the cap to the battery. Just 2 little clips, one on either side. Slides off just like that. Come in, just disconnect the negative terminal on our battery. So we got our bolts in there first, put our amps in, put the plate over top, the 13 millimeter bolt, and then there's 2 10 millimeter bolts. I'll snug those on here in a second. And then this last piece would be if you had something bigger like a snow plow or whatever. I don't ever intend to use one of those, but I have it here if I need it. So let me snug down the 10mm first. That's all we're gonna do just for now until we run the wire, the power cable through the firewall, which I'll show you right over here. All right, so there's like a little arm that comes out through the firewall, little gray arm right here. I'm pointing at it. I'm gonna cut off the tip of that and we're gonna run the wire across, taking out these little Christmas trees. There's 4 of them. And then we're gonna run the wire down through that hole and underneath the dash. Put the conduit over here to hide the chrome or reflective covering of there. Just kind of keep everything clean underneath the hood. Now I'm gonna pop out those 4 Christmas trees that I just showed you. And that should be it. We'll be ready to mount this. So what I'm doing now is I just wanted to do a test fitting to see where each one of these hooks would match up with the 4 Christmas trees that I pulled. So I'm just gonna get the first one started, then I'm gonna pull it off the battery for now, just to see. But as long as it meets up there, you can slide those little hooks up and down the wire as needed. Pretty straightforward, but you're just gonna pop them right into place. Now I'm gonna need you to come on over here, down over here, this way. I'm gonna reach, basically laying across the whole engine bay here, my little arms. I'm gonna cut off the tip of this little arm. This will be easier to see this way. What I just did is I took the power cord after I ran it across the back of the engine bay or engine compartment, cut off the tip of this little rubber housing, and I slid the power cord through and I pushed it through as far as I could. Now I do have a JLT oil catch can here, so it's kind of different for me than it may be for some of you who do not have this catch can. But I just wrapped it around. I went around and in between that and the coolant container or reservoir there. So I pushed it through as far as I could. Now I'm gonna go to the inside. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna work on getting this bad boy off of here. There's a few panels that need to be removed. The side panel here, this vent. We have to take away this little center console panel. I'm gonna have to take off my wireless charging center console as well that I also got from 404 Parts. Get in the comments below if you have interest in that. I also have a discount code for that for you guys. I have to get the head unit off along with some other interior pieces to pop off to get the various bolts to get this part off. So let's get started. I'm gonna pop this little square panel off. Get into the right corner. And it should pop right off once I get in there. It's a little difficult to get to, I guess. There we go. Slid right off. 2 little arms that clip into place. Once you get behind them, it'll pop right out. Then you're gonna need a 7mm socket wrench to get into this bolt back here. Got her out, and now we can take this panel off. If you don't have the center console, this shouldn't be an issue for you. You wouldn't have to worry about it. But as you could tell, I do have this center console, so I need to work around it to get to my head unit, which is kind of an extended process for me than most people. I can get in here. Try not to scratch these up. As you see, I have carbon fiber wrap over the wood grain portion, and then I also did a matte black finish over this, so I'm trying to keep the finish as nice as possible without scratching it. Seems to be easier getting underneath it than going in from the top. And as you see, these are the 3 clips that I was just working with, fighting on. I'm going to do that on the other side as well. Alright, now I'm going to pop off this center console. As you see, the whole center console comes up to inside your actual center console here, or compartment. So you need to pop these pieces up. You'll hear a click. That was not enough what I need to do. There we go. They pop out on either side. Before I do that, I'm going to pop off this bottom panel. It just pulls right off. What I need to do is reachable now. I shouldn't have to move this. This part's stuck in here, as you see. But all I need to do is pop this piece off. In order to do so, I get underneath it here. I get some leverage, and it pulls right off, just like that. All right, then I'm gonna come up here. I'm going to pull off this trim piece by my radio or my head unit. There's a couple of spots where these clips are. You just gotta find them. There we go. Looks like there's one on either corner, and that'll pull off. Get in through the sides here without damaging anything. Just like that. And then we are going to unscrew or unbolt the radio, which it looks like we have some T15 screws. One up here, one on the right, one down lower on the right, one down lower on the left, and then there's 2 actually underneath, which I will be getting to as well. I do have 2 bolts underneath. As you see here, there's 2 separate parts. You have the head unit up here, and then you have a lower portion of the head unit that meets with your wireless charging center console, or with your center console, depending on which truck you have. I have the Trail Boss LT. I just had a regular center console, and as I said, I installed the wireless charging not too long ago. Now I'm gonna pop off this lower portion of the head unit. These clips are not easy. And then again, the same thing on the driver's side to pop those ones out. All right, there's those last two T15 bits for the top of the head unit. Right here on the bottom.
One on your side.
All right, and then what I'm gonna do is pop off the head unit itself. Coming in from the top, it's fairly easy. All you wanna do is get a little bit of leverage and it pops off just like that. I barely pulled and it slid right off. So, and it's just gonna hang there, just as so. So what that is gonna allow us to do, this little panel here is next, we need to pull this piece off, pull the top of the dash off here in order to expose different bolts on either side. All right, next we're gonna pop this panel off. Pretty simple, I didn't even have to use my tool. Just enough to where I can expose a few bolts here. All right, now that the head unit is off, I just popped this little panel off here. As you see, it's very easy to pull off actually. I didn't even need any tools. I just reached in from the side and pulled it right off. They popped right out. Only reason I need to do that is there is some overlap between this piece and the piece that I will be pulling out. There is a bolt right here that I need to get to. All right, now that I got those panels popped off, I'm gonna get this top portion off. Gonna be a little awkward, just never mind. Very easy to get off. As you see, there's 6 different clips on there, and I thought I was gonna have to use a little more strength than I need to. It came right off, no problem. Nothing broke there. So everything looks good. And the whole purpose of that is exposing, if you come on up here, we need to get 3 bolts off. There's one here, one in the center, and then one over here. 1, 2, and 3. All right, I got those 3 bolts out. Now I'm just gonna pop this panel off. As you see it, again, much easier than anticipated. Came right off on the left-hand side, and again, on the right-hand side, same exact thing. Very easy to pull off. The whole purpose of pulling these off are to expose, if you get in here, let me see. Can you bring the camera in here? There are 2 bolts underneath. One right there, and then, let's see if I can get the camera to focus, one right back there. Again, 7 millimeters, and that holds the lower portion of our dashboard on. All right, now I'm gonna pop this little panel off. One of those little clamps or clips fell off right here. Boom, pops off, we're good to go. And then I need T15 bit again. Looks like there's one here that I need to pop off, and then this vent will come off. There's another T15 right here. And then another 7 millimeter bolt right here. And that should be it for that little. Now for the lower panel, I'm just making sure all of our pieces are off. And get this vent out of the way here. I'm just gonna hang it over to the side. And now pull this lower piece off. There's gonna be those annoying clips again. Oops, I missed a few bolts actually. actually one more bolt right here. Now it's all about finding those clips and pulling them off where needed. Emergency, or not, sorry, the hood latch is going to be a little bit of a workaround. All right, so now we're disconnected. I gotta pull this red tab here on the back and pull this little piece out. This is for your parking brake. It's in there pretty snug. There is a little button on the bottom side. I feel like I'm pushing it down, but it's not pulling. All right, next I'm coming over and I'm getting the ignition switch off. There's just a little red tab that locks in place, and then you push the button right underneath and it pulls right out. Fairly simple. And then the last thing that we're stuck on is the hood latch down here. So all we have to do is press this button here and it slides right out. Boom. All right, the old part is gone. Let's get the new part back in there and put together. First step we're gonna need to do is take off the parking brake and the ignition button. So what we're doing here, there's two little latches on either side. Whenever the ignition button is in the panel, let me slide it in where it needs to go. You're just gonna squeeze either side on there. If I can get it back in here. You're just gonna squeeze either arm on either side and it'll pop right out. And then the parking brake is a little more difficult to get off. All right, park brake, you gotta just separate those. Trying to. Try not to break the old piece, even though I won't be utilizing it. There we go. And we're out. As you see, these are the two clips on either side, and they latch into those 4 holes, 2 on either side. So now we can dispose or remove of the old and bring in the new. Starting with the parking brake. Obviously you want to make sure it's right side up as you would put it in. I think it's pretty much, yeah, there we go, pretty straightforward. Just as so, and it'll pop right into place. And then your ignition button. Again, make sure it's right side up. All right, guys, thanks for making it this far in my video. Please, to help out the page, smash that like button and then also subscribe. As you see, over to the side here, we got 404 parts sponsored this video. If you want 10% off on your Upfitter switches or wireless charging center console, Silverado, Sierra, Tahoe, Suburban, or Escalade, make sure you use my promo code, the Blue Garage. All right, guys, enjoy the rest of the video. Now we're ready to put the panel back in. Starting with the hood latch here. Clips into place. I started with that cable, or that portion of connecting, because it is the most stiff portion. Now it's fairly easy to plug in your parking brake. As long as you do it in the right direction. Clips into place, you hear that little pop, lock it into place. And then the ignition button. Plugs right in, clips in, lock it in. Pretty simple, guys. So now I'm popping the panels back into place. I'm making sure everything is going in the correct holes, so I can latch into place the same way the stock one did. There we go. All right, we're in place. Now, working in reverse order, I'm going to put the vent back on here. All right, now I'm going to work on the cluster here. Now, if you guys remember, there is one 7mm bolt on either side that holds up the lower panel. I'm going to put that in as tight as I can by hand first and ratchet it tight. All right, so now that I got the 2 bolts on either end, or on either side of the lower piece here, now what I'm going to do is I am going to put the upper piece back into place. what we're gonna do is put this lower piece on. And we are good. Everything's clipped back into place. Now we got to connect the center console again. All right, so the goal here is I'm going to put the T15 screws through to get this little wiring harness underneath the wireless charging center console, which, as I added earlier and I've said a few times throughout this video, this is a must-have, especially if you have a 2021 Silverado that does not have the wireless charging center console and it has the Apple CarPlay that is wireless already, or Android CarPlay. I highly recommend it. I mean, everything's wireless now in my truck. You don't have to worry about any excess wires, any disorganization. Everything's very nice and neat and very easy to get to. Just drop my phone on there and it's charging, and it automatically connects to the CarPlay, like I said. So there's 2 screws there, one on either side. Very tight space, as you see. I'm kind of working with the space that I got to get this in. Cool. And then we're going to connect a number of pieces here. Actually, just one. Forgot we didn't have to disconnect from the other piece. This is just plugging in the wireless charging portion of my center console. Clicks into place and push the red lock in place, and we are set. So once you're done there, everything will click into place and you're good. That's all there. We're gonna put the side pieces back on. All right, that's good. Now we can put these panels back in place as well. So what we're gonna do is get this little arm right here. This little hook goes around this little piece right here, just holds it into place. And then we wanna make sure that these little gold pieces are positioned straight. That one was a little crooked, so that's why I'm straightening it out. And we're gonna slide it first into place and then connect our little clips. Just like that. Good. All right, next we're gonna put the driver's side panel on. Picked up some dirt from the garage there. There is another arm on this side, so we're going to slide that into place first. All right, then you're going to put this 7mm bolt back into place. All right, and then we can pop this little plastic piece right back in. Upside down there. There is a right way to do it. You can tell because it'll sit flush once it's in. And that's it for the center console. I have to pop one more piece back in, and that is the frame on the radio right here. Pretty simple, just put it where it needs to go, pop it into place, starting from the bottom, work your way up. And a couple more bolts that we got to get here just for this lower panel that I did miss because I was so excited to get this thing together. Now, as you probably noticed already, I haven't wired anything. So that's another step coming up, which may have to wait till tomorrow because I do have to go on a run and have some errands that I have to knock out. So there should be one here and then two underneath. Since that one's done, I can put this panel in place. Make sure it fits behind the weather stripping. Oops, one of those plastic pieces pops off. There we go. Just like that. And there are one more bolt underneath. Day one of my Upfitter switches and my LED bar finished. I will get back to this tomorrow. As you see right here, I do have the Upfitter switches on now. They do not work at the moment. So I still have to put the fuse box in and hardwire the LED bar in and connect to power. That'll be for tomorrow. Unfortunately, I do have to run to go pick up my daughter and go grab something to eat because I am starving. So I will see you guys. Which is what I'm gonna start with first. Got my coffee, I'm ready to go. Pretty nice day here, not as cold as it was yesterday. And I don't have my garage anymore. My buddy Norm, I wanna send out a huge thank you to him. He let me borrow his garage, his beautiful garage yesterday. And I also had my beautiful wife helping me out with videotaping. So I don't have a person to hold the camera either, so bear with me today as I work through first installing the fuse box, connecting the power to my Upfitter switches, connecting the power cable to the battery. I'll test the switches first, probably get those up and running, and then hopefully later on today in this video I can get the LED bar installed. But for now, just enjoy the view. I just pulled up next to the lake here. Man, I can't wait to have my own place, my own garage. You know, it's gonna be awesome, guys. I'll be able to do so much more and work a lot easier in my own space. Right now, all my tools are in the back of the truck, and you know, I'm making do with what I got. So very easy to do, and since I don't even have my own setup, it makes it even easier for you guys that do. You're much more organized than I am, so let's get to it. All right, so here we have our fuse box. It's gonna sit right up under the dash, fuse side down. This cap comes off and you have your fuses in there. Fuse sides down right under here. Now, as you see, there's two openings here for screws to go in, but it's gonna sit right under there, underneath the dash. I need to screw in from this side, which is now covered by the panel. No big deal, very easy to reach. Luckily I have smaller hands. You have these two 7mm bolts here that I'm gonna be using a socket wrench for, or to get in, or to keep everything snug and get it in place. So I have to reach in between this panel here and different parts of the lower portion of the dashboard. It'll be easy installation. Beyond that, we just have to connect to power, which, as you see here, I pulled this cable already through the Firewall. I did that earlier earlier in our video yesterday. So that's all the way through. I'll be connecting the power, and pretty soon here we'll be ready to rock with our Upfitter switches, guys. All right, so you can see here, let's see if I can get it to focus. One screw hole right here, and then one over here. So I have to come in between this little panel and the Upfitter switchboard, or the panel, the lower portion of the dashboard, like I said. Get my hands in between here. Luckily, these are flexible. I can get a socket wrench in between, and I will be able to install the fuse box, as I said. So let me get to that. I'm going to fast forward ahead, and it'll be installed. So I got the fuse box up where it needs to be. As you see, these two screws are a pain in the butt. Let me get there on the camera here. Pain in the butt if you don't do it right, if you skip a step. I was in a hurry yesterday. I had to run. Unfortunately, I didn't take an extra minute just to bolt this thing up. There's one there. I was trying to find it on the screen there. One there, one there. So I had to get in between this panel here and squeeze my fingers and my socket wrench in between to get that on. I got it on, took me about 5 to 10 minutes to get my hands up in there and get it positioned. Once the bolt got started, I had no problem getting it in, but it took some time. Took a little bit of extra effort rather than going in without this panel here and just bolting them right on. So don't skip that step. Take your time. I was in a hurry yesterday to finish up. I didn't expect to be whenever I started my project, but things happen, life happens, so here we are. So now that I have that done, I'm ready to hook up power to it. I'm ready to plug in my switches, and I'll get started on that. All right, so the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna grab the power cable. Here's my brake right here, brake lever. I am going to weave that in and above this air duct, or up and over this air duct. As you see, I got the cable from behind this rubber or foam pad here through the firewall, right up in here. It came right out. I have it here now. I'm going to weave it up underneath. So give me a second, I'll show you what I'm doing with it. I am going to plug it into this piece right. Hard to see what I'm doing from this angle. Let me lay on my back here to get it. This piece right here. And as you see on the top portion, top left portion, there is a brass fitting in there. That's the side. So on the left side, as we're looking at it, that's the side that we are going to plug in that power switch into our connector here. So as you're looking at it, it'll be on the, let's see again one more time. So it'll go in on the top side here. If you're looking with the red lock, with the red lock facing you, it'll go on the top side, just like so. All right, I got it clicked in. This is the power switch right here that I pulled through the firewall. Once it goes into place, it locks. You hear it clip into place. Pretty simple. And then all we're gonna do here, it's hard to do to hold the camera and show you at the same time as I'm working, is plug these two together. So, whenever I say two, there's the receiving end, and here is the fitting that I'm plugging in. I'll fast forward ahead. It'll be easier to do with two hands. All right, fast forwarded about 5 seconds here. All I did is squeeze these two together. You hear a click. Once it clicks in place, lock it in place by pushing this red button down. And now we are ready to connect by accessing this switch here. Let me flip you around so we can get you in there. That is actually not a plug, that's a cap that GM puts on there. So all we're gonna do here is compress the button and pull it out. All right, this is the cap that I just pulled out. GM had it electrical taped around the corners here, which made it very difficult to pull out. Once I got the electrical tape off, no big deal. Just compress this button and it pulls right out. Pretty simple. And all we're gonna do here now is position you where you need to be. Let me see here. We're going to put our cable that comes on the fuse box, as you see here, right there. I'm gonna put that in to the fitting. Clicks into place, locks into place, give it a little tug, we're good to go. All right, guys, I apparently was not recording whenever I did this, but there's one more cable that I had to plug into the back of the auxiliary switches here. All I did was reach up and around, right up through here and around, excuse me, right, I can't see where my hand's going now, up and around by the steering wheel and back over. And my hand is now behind the switches and it plugs in very easy. I'm actually touching the cable right now. Very easy to rotate it in, lock it in place. Then the final step, other than connecting to the battery, which I'm gonna do right now, is you have your 4 cables that hang down here for your auxiliary switches. Yes, there are 5. There is a green cable, which is your 5th cable that we could use for the 5th button, but I can later on wire in a 5th cable also if I need to for that 5th button. So let me get the battery connected and I'll show you the switches and how they work. So all we're gonna do here is take our power cable and connect it here, if I get enough slack here, to the 60 amp connector, and we're gonna put a 10mm bolt right over top. Now I just need 2 hands. I have some slack that I need to pull over, so this will lay flat. Then I'll secure this down and we'll have power, guys. All right, so I just pulled the power cable over, got it on the 60 amp fuse, and we're ready to rock, guys. We're plugged in. I'm just gonna put the battery cover back on, and then we can test those buttons. I'll show you how they work. Alright, so our buttons, there's some power to them. 1, 2, 3.
Go, go, gadget car. Empire State Building, here we come. Here we are.
4 and 5, right? Alright, guys, now we're ready to test these wires and see if our auxiliary switches will work. Notice all the dog hair from my shepherd, or my Carolina dog, as we just recently found out. It's a breed I've never really heard of, but it's pretty cool. She's pretty awesome, but she sheds a lot. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna connect my tester to a ground. Looks like a good ground would be this little metal piece right here. All right, now that we're connected, I'm only gonna test the 2 cables here. I only need 1 of them technically. This is the blue one. So I'm gonna press number 1 and I should light up. We are good, guys. Number 1 is good. Number 2 is the gray. So blue is number 1, gray is number 2. If I'm correct, I'm almost positive. The yellow is number 3 and brown is number 4. So now that we're good, we're all connected. My Upfitter switches are complete, guys. pretty happy with it. The OEM look. Had I not been an idiot and in so much of a rush yesterday, I would have installed the fuse panel and just plugged in everything. It would have been a lot easier without this piece already on there. So with that said, we're knocked out for the upfitter switches. Next we have... Well, that's a wrap. Unfortunately, we didn't get our LED bar installed. The 20-inch last fit LED bar was a hair too short for the brackets that I intended on using from AmericanTrucks.com. The brackets originally stated they were for a 20-inch light bar, but I was about 4 to 5 inches short on either side. So what I'm doing and what I'm waiting on, and this is Saturday, the 23rd, I'm waiting on my 30-inch LED bar from Last Fit to come in. So hopefully whenever that does come in, next week's video, I'll be installing that light bar in my lower portion of my grill, as I mentioned. So thank you guys for tuning in. I had a lot of fun making this video. It's my first time doing any type of electrical work on a vehicle, or wiring or anything like that, if you want to consider that electrical work. So I had fun. I learned a lot myself, and I look forward to doing more in the future. So again, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for being a part of this video. Please, if you want to see daily updates, follow me on Instagram, blue_boss21, right up here. And then also, don't forget to like this video. Give me a like. That really helps out the page. It helps me keep going, helps get my video out to more viewers out there. And also subscribe. Don't forget to subscribe. Put that alert button on for every Sunday's video. You get alerted once it's posted. And you know, just tune in next time. All right, guys? Well, I really appreciate it, and we'll get the Blue Boss up and running here soon with that LED bar. Hopefully in the next day or two, it'll come in the mail. Just waiting on UPS. Take care.